we're back to Vodacom URC and then Europe as well, or Champions Cup, Champions Trophy. What's it called again?
Yeah, Investec Champions Cup.
Investec Champions Cup.
Pleasure.
That's why we're a team. Which South African franchise do you reckon will benefit the most from the international exposure to the players? Obviously, when we speak about that, it's always the Sharks and how many bucks they have there, and they've kind of underperformed. What do you reckon in terms of our four franchises? Let's start with the Stormers.
I think we're in trouble in Cape Town. You can't see a lot of players coming back. Yes, Damien Willems will come back. Sasha Feinberg will come back. Frans Malherbe, Ben Jason Dixon.
Probably, yeah.
But then, obviously long-term injury to Steven Kitshoff, which I think is a real problem. Brock Harris is on a 6-month extension clause for the last 10 years, I think. I mean, we played 200 games with Brocky. So he's doing one heck of a job for a team. But, open side flank is another issue. Dion Fourie, also a little bit older, injured. He's not coming back, I don't think, anytime soon. So, I think we're in trouble in Cape Town until we've got a full house. And, partly due to our own mistakes. We haven't played the best rugby, so I can't see the Stormers doing much.
I think the Bulls, in my opinion, they've got the most depth out of all the teams. And again, a lot of their guys, like if you take a guy like Ruan Orkia, Elrich Louw, they're starting to gain a lot of confidence. You guys know how it is when you start playing for the box and you start playing well, how much that carries over to your club side.
So that's what I wanted to get to, because you now have Jan Hendrik Wessels, Johan Grobbelaar, Wilco Louw, Ruan Orkia, Gerard Steenekamp, Elrich Louw, Marco van Staden, Cameron Hanekom,
Marcel Coetzee.
Then Kurtley's going on a sabbatical as well at some stage, but you've got Kane and Moody there, you've got Villiers there. So I think the Bulls will really benefit.
I think the dark horse for us in one of the competitions, not on both fronts, is the Sharks. They've somehow got to get to a playoff. When they get to a playoff and all hands is on deck,
then the big players step up.
I think they're going to go win you a trophy when they've got their best side picked. But I don't know if they've got enough depth to actually get them into a good playoff spot. So whether they get a run in Europe like they did last year in the Challenge Cup, where they got to that final, they were never going to lose that game. And I think they can do the same this year.
And it's almost, you kind of back them for the Champions Cup rather than the URC, because Champions Cup is far shorter.
And
it's just the difference is just so big between when the internationals are there and when they're not there. So with a shorter comp and you have most of those guys most of the time, your chances are better. The Lions, I feel, similar to the Bulls. They've got a couple of players now that made their debuts for the Boks this year. And it seems like, they're taking more responsibility as well. So I'd like to see the Lions actually make the step up this year as well. And even though they didn't have guys on tour, having those Springbok players around now in that squad, I think the ambition is certainly there from that squad.
And I think as well with them, I think that's the place where the players develop the most. I think they've got a great young coaching group there. And the players seem to enjoy it, and they definitely, from when they get there, like I was saying, in the last 2 years, the best development in the country, I think, of players has been at the Lions.
Yeah, look, I mean, they almost remind me where they were with Johan Ackerman in the Super Rugby, 3 years or whatever, they got into a final. And it's not a young side anymore. They might have been 3 years ago inexperienced. And the last 2 seasons would have hurt them because they, by all accounts, should have been in the top 8. They lost games at home where they were comfortably in lead not to make the playoffs. So I think they are dark horses, and I think they'll do us proud. I think they're going to be super hard to beat at Ellis Park. And they've still got a few travels. Travel's going to be their big issue for them because when they get they're almost like Argentina. When they get a head of steam up, they're bloody tough to stop.
We spoke about the development of players and introducing them to international level, and you mentioned Johan Ackerman now as well. To me, the one issue that you kind of see in South African rugby still, or gap, call it a gap, is that there's no proper pipeline for coaches to come through. We've now seen Johan Ackerman back in South Africa, involved with the under-20s. How big is that for the whole system in South Africa? You see Swys de Bruin now involved at SA Rugby, you see Johan Ackerman back. You see how well Franco Smith is doing and Johan van Graan is doing. How important is it to actually bring our guys back and also have the succession planning post, call it the Rugby groups that we currently have?
I would say you know, it's not only that. You know, like Johan Ackerman will be like a mentor for these players. He's not only a coach. And I think, you know, the big gap, I think, in South African rugby is we've got all this talent. A lot of times coaches can be lazy and they don't want to coach. They just wait for a year and pick the next kid up. Yeah. So I think that's the most important role for us, is to get right your Curry Cup, your youth structure coach, whoever that is, your development coach. Because, you know, he needs to be more than just a coach. You know, he needs to be like a mentor. So Johan Ackerman or a guy like Swiss with the ladies, the female team, I mean, that's great appointments.
And I think the thing with us is we're so blessed with the amount of young players. If you look at Ireland, Scotland has 2 teams.
Yeah.
They have to develop players. They can't just chuck a guy away and bring in a new guy. And that's the thing in South Africa youngsters. A guy who has one skill set is probably not there, and then they just bring in the next guy. They actually work with those players because they have to. So I think that's a great, if we can get our amount of talent with player development, I think it'll be amazing.
Because it's about finding a way to make it work for you. I mean, Scotland, they don't have what we have, so that's why they need the Dempseys and the Tupelotos and the Van der Merwes and the Schoemans. You know, they need to find somewhere else, but you make it work eventually.